So I think like once you listen to enough people, you eventually get the content and you eventually find yourself. You find your personality. Like Jerry Seinfeld said something I'll never forget. He said, never open with a new joke. Because if you open with a new joke and it doesn't work, you're fighting an uphill battle for the next hour. Start with a banger, start with a zinger.
If the presentation is good enough, the close is easy, right? The close is small. But if the presentation is not good enough, then it takes you a lot longer. You have to spend more time on the close. That's so incredibly true.
There's a security guard in front of everyone's brain holding the information out, and you've got to entertain that security guard or scare him. You got to distract him so you can slip in the information.
You have to learn, unlearn, and relearn, right? So you have to learn some new stuff. You have to unlearn some of your bad habits, right? And some of the things that you've been taught. And you also have to relearn. That's why training is so important and repetition, right? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Driven Not Given podcast. And I'm super excited. As always, man, I'm always excited. You guys always hear me say how excited I am, but I'm excited because this is a friend of mine that I've met him in 2001. And then we really he didn't know who I was. And then we got to know each other in 2006 or 2007 working. Interestingly enough, we used to be in a company called Vima that sold this drink here. And I remember seeing him and I said, this is Cliff from 2001. And we're going to get into the story about 2001. But I'm very happy to have him here on the podcast. Serial entrepreneur, direct selling legend, also a best-selling author, world traveler. I mean, this guy's just the man. One of the most interesting people that I know. In my opinion, this guy's a renaissance man. With that being said, Mr. Cliff Brown, how are you, brother?
Professional skateboarder, motivational speaker, and maker of women's handbags. I'm doing great, man. It's fun to be on here with you. We've been talking about it forever, and we've both been so busy. It's nice we both finally got our schedules to match.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So where are you now? Are you in Colombia?
I'm at home. Yep, in Medellin, Colombia. God, it's crazy. Like I've been living outside of America for 15 years. Like it started, so I got into network marketing when I was 19, and I did that in America till I was 30. And at 30, I got bored, and I was working with Vima, and I went to Taiwan. And so I helped expand the company in Taiwan. Then I did the same thing in Cape Town, South Africa. So Taiwan for 3 years, then Cape Town, South Africa for 3 years. And then I've been in Colombia ever since, adding up to 15 years. God, I can't believe I left when I was 30 and I'm 45 now, just like that.
Wow. Time flies indeed, man. Yeah. I remember you were out in Taiwan building and stuff, and you lived all over the place, but it seems like Colombia has been a place that you really like lately, right? Would you say that you like Colombia more than the other places?
Yeah, what's interesting is like there's other places that I like more, but to live, there's like a difference in places you like to visit and places you want to live. Like Taipei was freaking awesome, and Cape Town was awesome. Well, so like Taiwan, Hong Kong, like a lot of these cool places in Asia are really beautiful at night. But if you're in the city in the daytime, it's kind of like the concrete jungle. And so what's so cool about Colombia is if you're in the city, every street is covered with a canopy of trees. It's like Jurassic Park. It's like paradise. It's like Adam and Eve. I mean, it's just so breathtakingly Nat Geo beautiful every day. And it's hard to turn away from that, you know? So yeah, Colombia, especially Medellin, is my favorite place on earth to live. I've been here for 8 years. I just bought a house. So I'm planning, I've got a dog.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice, brother. So tell me, what's life being Cliff Brown, bro? You know, you're in Colombia now. I think last week you were in, where were you last week? I mean, you're just in something that checks social media. You're in another place of the world, bro. So what's it like to be Cliff Brown?
Oh, geez, I don't know. But you know what's so weird is like, so I left America when I was 30 because I was just kind of bored. Like I'd kind of like achieved most of the goals that I set, and I just was kind of bored, and I just wanted to go, see the rest of the world. So I went to Taiwan, and like I didn't have this plan to like go to every country like I do now. It was just like I just wanted to see more, but not all of it. I wasn't there yet. So at 30, I moved to Taiwan, and you have to leave every 60 days for your visa. So everyone just goes to Hong Kong, has coffee, and comes back. That's what everybody does. I did that for a while. And then I was like, dude, I know Hong Kong like the back of my hand. I love dim sum. It's great. But like, once you've been there a million times. So then I was like, I might as well like, I have to do this every 60 days. I might as well like start seeing other countries. And so that's how this all started.
Very nice. Very nice. Listen, you are very experienced traveling, and you've been around the world. Would you say that the phrase America's the greatest country on earth still applies?
I would say yes and no, not to be complicated, but just, like I would say the country is, it's the politicians that are messing it up. So on one hand, I would say no because the politicians. On the other hand, I would say yes because it is amazing. Like as much as we all talk crap on America and our politicians and the government and everything, like it, having been to 75 countries, it is still better. There is still, the American dream is still alive and possible. It just sucks that the politicians are like messing it up. I mean, the biggest problem with America right now, I feel like, is nobody knows who to trust anymore because, there's a technique that the military used a long time ago in the media called disinformation. If the truth leaks out, no problem. Just leak out 7 more truths. And now they can't figure out what's what. And that's how it is today. You've got all these fact checkers, and it's like you hear something, whether it's about politics or weight loss or whatever, and you're like, you don't know what to believe anymore. And so most people just give up because they don't have the time to research everything.
Wow. No, it's very true. Very true. The country certainly changed a lot. And, somebody like you that has lived in so many countries, you definitely have a different perspective. But switching gears a little bit, bro, obviously you have a very interesting life, but I want to know, and I want the audience to hear, I met you back in 2001 in the 2x2 days, right? 2x2 in direct sales and network marketing did some of the most iconic stuff that's ever been done in direct sales. And that's before the internet, right? I am Academy did that recently, and Organo Gold had its run and did some amazing things. But 2x2 was really the company that was my first network marketing company. Tell me a little bit about the 2x2 days. Was that when you made your first $1 million?
Yep, it was. So I got into network marketing at 19. I was working at a gas station. I got tricked into going to a seminar. I got there and I was like, oh God, this looks like one of those sales commission things, like win the trip to Hawaii, earn points. I'm not doing it. What a scam. And by the end of the hour, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be rich in a week. And so I joined. It was NTC. It was a long distance telephone company like ACN or XL. And I told all my family and friends, everybody said no. So I went to the college campus across the street and just recruited like 50 people a day. I started dragging in like 10 strangers a night, and everybody's like, oh my God, what does that guy eat for breakfast? And I just knew it was a numbers game. So I just talked to strangers. So my first success was at 19 in 1996 in NTC. September was the month that I joined. Can't remember the day. That would be cool. But, and I made like 20 grand a month in that company in my first year. Well, not like my first month. I mean, it took me like 6 months to hit director. And then I started making 20 grand a month. So I did that in NTC for like 2 years. And then my upline quit and opened up 3 failed companies that I followed him into. And then nobody knows that part. That was rough. That was the worst year financially, like literally like car repossessed, apartment evicted, all that kind of stuff. But then, 21, he started 2x2. And then that just, blew up and took off. And that was such a huge blessing because when you're that young, you're still influenceable and you still believe everything and you're excited. And it was just like I felt like I was working directly with the Wizard of Oz. I mean, I just felt so lucky.
So we're talking about Dennis. So he, before 2x2, he started 3 companies that failed, then 2x2 hit.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't even know that part, bro.
I can't even remember their names. Well, there was NTC, then IncomNet, then SimpleToNet with Michael, somebody or other. And then there was TSA and then USA. Might have been 4.
Shoot. Wow. Interesting. But in 2x2, so tell me 2x2.net. You got started with 2x2.net. You and your brother were driving that orange Lamborghini. You guys were what, like 20 years old, 21 years old?
Yeah, I think 21. So I'd already burnt through all my warm market, Well, I mean, they all said no anyway, but like we totally started from scratch. And it was just the same thing, went to college campuses and just talked to students and said, hey, are you open-minded to making money part-time? Really, honestly, nothing that special. I would say maybe what kicked off our recruiting was we developed this survey because me and my brother would go to the campus and we would just talk to kids and be like, well, we were kids. I mean, just talk to our peers and say, hey, do you want to come to the office? It was like, no problem. Like we were pretty good at it, but our people couldn't do it. So we developed a survey that said like, what's your major? Do you want to make more money? Do you have a car? What are your goals in life? Name and phone number or something like that. And so we had like just these people that like couldn't sell their way out of a paper bag going to the campus and getting 100 numbers a day. So we had like 20 dorks going to the campus and just coming back with each of them 100 numbers. So you got, thousands of phone numbers. So every night we had tons of guests. And that's really what kicked the whole thing off.
So how often would you guys have meetings these days? Those days, you said every day. Were you guys having meetings every day?
No, so we went to the campus every day, and it was like you go to the campus one day, and the next day it was follow up with calls. Then you go to the campus one day, and the next day follow up with calls. And then of course we were also like recruiting people at Starbucks, like Danny Bay, or just recruiting like people just everywhere. It was just that 3 foot rule. Just talk to everybody and anybody. I mean, we were just all out massive action. We had nothing else to do. There was nothing to lose.
Yeah. So you guys, your team recruited Danny Bay out of Starbucks?
Yeah, it was either my brother or my brother's friend Guido. No, my brother recruited Guido from the valet in Vegas somewhere. And then Danny Bay worked at a Starbucks in Vegas. I think Guido bought, it's so long ago, it's hard to remember, but like
Yeah.
more or less, yeah. I mean, I remember like
Wow.
teaching Danny how to do the presentation and he was like all nervous and shit. Now he's, a legend.
Yeah, he is. I think he started his own company, right?
Yeah, yeah. He started his own deal out in Korea. Now he's working with Sophia and they've teamed up and they're doing big things. He just bought a new Lamborghini that I always call it the uterus. I know it's not the uterus, the Urus.
Yeah. That's
It's
funny,
very
bro. Yeah, man. Listen, I believe that in network marketing, the best speakers in the world come from network marketing, right? And I think
good.
you are one of those speakers. You are one of those dynamic speakers that just absolutely, ever since you were, in your 20s, I remember seeing you speak, and the way that you tell stories, the way that you engage people, the way that you are funny, bro. I would see you up on stage. This guy could literally be a stand-up comedian if he really wanted to and be very successful at it. What are some of the tips that you could give me personally? Because I'm a speaker, so I want to learn, but also for the audience, what are some tips that you could give somebody to become a better speaker?
Well, first off, in our industry, just like if you're a chef, you get really picky over food, or if you're I don't know, an actor or a producer or a director, you get really picky over films. Like I'm that way. When I listen to someone speak, I'm just like, yeah, great. Tryouts next year. But you're so good. I mean, like out of all the trainers, you're one of the best trainers in the industry. I mean, I would say like top 3 that I know. So phenomenal. I mean, every time I watch you train, I'm just like, man, when it's good content and it's quality and it's authentic and it's from the heart, like when people get stuck in their head, they're too worried about impressing people, they come off weird. But when you're in your heart and you're really thinking about helping people, I almost liken it to like, if you're in your head, you can just use what's on your laptop. If you're in your heart, you get connected to the internet and God or the universe just channels. It's like prophecy. It's like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. And it just comes to me because you're saying what's good for people and the right people are going to hear it at the right times in their life. And it's crazy. It's like, I've been out of the zone before and for whatever reason stuck in my head and trying to like do a great job. And you never do as good as when you just don't give a shit and you're just all about helping people. Then God just tells you what to say. It's freaking amazing. But so my tip would be, it's like they say, if you want to be a good writer, you've got to be a good reader. For me, honestly, what helped was 2 things. One, listening to a crap load of Jim Rohn and then just sprinkling my personality on top of it. He gave me the principles and the foundation. When you say the stuff Jim Rohn says, no one's going to disagree with it. All you got to do now is sprinkle your personality on top of it. So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing would be, I just listened to like Jerry Bala, Tim Herr, Dennis Wong, like Brian Covey, Stephen Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins. Like I just listened to so many people. And in the beginning, like I was trying to be Jerry Bala, who's 65, and I was 19. And I was like, this is not going to work. Right, and then like I couldn't be Tim Herr. He's like too aggressive and too like, he's like, Versace is maybe not the right example, but he's just like, like, and I'm a little more reserved, but then some people were too reserved and I'm like, well, I'm not that. So I think like once you listen to enough people, you eventually get the content and you eventually find yourself, you find your personality.
That makes sense. That's an experience that I had as well. I listened to you, Tim Herr as well. Tim Herr's been on the podcast. We had a great episode in this very room actually. And so many different people. And then I started realizing, yeah, I got a lot of these great speakers. I've had the good fortune to have a lot of good mentors, also a lot of good mentors from afar. I think a lot of people really don't understand the power of having these mentors from afar. I know that you've had some of them. You mentioned Jim Rohn very often and whatnot, but I got to see a lot of these speakers and yeah, I just made it my own. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like presenting and as you're presenting or training, you feel like, I'm not doing all that great right now and stuff like, because your expectations are so high of you. Have you ever had that experience?
Dude, of course. I mean, I had plenty of times where I was doing a meeting for 500 people and they're all clapping. And it's like, MLM is so weird. Like, they want your autograph afterward. Like, you could be an accountant making $5 million a year and nobody's like, oh my God, did you see Bob crunch those numbers? I got to get his autograph. Like, only in our industry do people have this rock star. It's so weird. So I can remember a presentation and like 500 people clapping and everything. And I'm like, when the meeting's over, everyone's like coming up and shaking my hand. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to afford dinner tonight. Like, I don't deserve any of this. So yeah. And then also like just doubting yourself in the middle of the presentation. Like, am I doing a good job? Like kind of a different branch of the same tree. Of course, tons of times. And you know, I have learned a lot from watching stand-up comedians. Like Jerry Seinfeld said something I'll never forget. He said, never open with a new joke. Because if you open with a new joke and it doesn't work, you're fighting an uphill battle for the next hour. Start with a banger. Start with a zinger.
Yeah, that's a very good tip. That's a very good tip. And one of the things I learned about public speaking is that you could learn a whole lot, as you mentioned, from comedians, right? Because their timing, their pauses, when they speed up, their, you know what I mean? How they're up and down. And I learned that a long time ago. It might have been from you. I don't remember who I learned that from, but I started, because I enjoy a good stand-up comic, right? But now I started not only looking at them and study, but I started not only enjoying their content, but I started studying their content, studying how they make those pauses, right? And then as your confidence grows, you could also become funnier. It's funny. My wife recently went to a training that I did, and she had told me before years ago when we started dating. She went to a training like in 2013, and she says, "Wow, you're really funny." And I didn't think of myself as being funny, but you know, sometimes you come across that way. So recently she went to a train of mine and you know, she said the same thing. I forgot how funny you were when you trained, right? And one of the things I attribute that to is you, bro. I remember at the DoubleTree in Whittier, California, you were doing a meeting and then it was followed by like a little training. And you had everybody rolling, bro. Everybody was having a good time because those meetings, especially when it's followed by a training, to some people it can seem like, hey, there's a long time I'm being here. But if they're being entertained and educated at the same time, and you're making them feel all these different emotions, the time flies. They enjoy it. It's not like a chore. And that's one of the things I learned from you that you do very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think it just came from like me starting in network marketing at 19 and everybody having like at that time, they said people had a 6-second attention span. Like if you watch a sitcom, you can time it. Every 6 seconds, there's a joke, like Friends or whatever. Now with Instagram, it's like 3 seconds. So I think it mainly started from like me being 19 and talking to college kids that like, you know, would easily just start wandering. And it's like, you got to keep their attention. And so that's how it started. And then there was something that Bill Gould said I never forgot. He said, there's a security guard in front of everyone's brain holding the information out. And you've got to entertain that security guard or scare him. You got to distract him so you can slip in the information. So I learned it was just information. Everyone could just read a book. No, it's got to be content, personality, authenticity. You know, it's so many things to get the ball across the, you know, into the end zone.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. Did you ever meet Bill Gould in person?
You know, I talked to him on the phone, and here's what's interesting is like, I had a few chances to meet him and I didn't meet him on purpose because I knew he was such a jerk. And I knew if him and I like didn't get along, that like I got so much great content from his audios. But I knew a lot of people that hated him and said he's a monster. And so I purposely never met him because I didn't want to lose my hero. You know, I worship the guy. I mean, I listened to every audio. Dude, I bought, this is way back when, like I spent thousands of dollars piecemealing it together, you know, buying this and buying that and Perpetual Money Machine and all the characters. And, you know, I never met him, but I learned so much from him. But I talked to him on the phone once and we got along fine. It was all good.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that dude, would you say that that guy is one of the best to ever do it in the direct sales industry?
I think he was the best. Sadly, he was kind of like the Darth Vader of our industry. I can't say he's a role model, but I would say that I don't know. I've never listened to anyone better. You know, I mean, he's not everybody's style, but frick, he was good. You know, him and Jim Rohn, polar opposites, right? But like, you know, just incredible. Yeah, I've never seen anyone as captivating. You know, when you go to the zoo, you want to see the lion, not the birds. Like listening to Bill Gould is like watching a lion in a cage. It's just, for me anyway, it's just fascinating.
That's true. That's true. He got banned from the industry. I mean, his was a first direct sales company that got featured on the Inc. I think it was an Inc. 500 list or something like that. And he beat Intuit, he beat Domino's. It was the first direct sales company. I mean, what he did was legendary. You know, my mentor, you know, Jay Nolan, one of my mentors, was personally trained by him. And some of the stories that he tells me that this guy would do, bro, are just insane, man. Insane. Some of the stories you hear of Bill Gold are crazy, bro.
Dude, out of this world. I mean, not PG. Nothing we could say on this
Yep.
Zoom podcast. But yeah, I've heard stories just like unthinkable. Like just what?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But listen, a lot of killers in the direct sales industry came from that guy. You know what I mean? So some of the best of the best.
Dude, Clay Flagg, Michelle Barnes. I mean, like a whole bunch of people that the youngsters don't even know. It's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Who's that?
Yeah, right. It's true. It's true. Who would you say, Cliff, has had the biggest professional impact in your career?
Well, JT Rangel, obviously.
Right.
Aside from you, I would say, I mean, I guess like it would be Dennis Wong, but I can't forget about Tim Hurd because he brought me into the industry. So, and I learned I was such a pussy. Like I was so scared to close. I'm still not a closer. I've always thought like, here's start, here's finish. If you do a great presentation, you only got to do this much closing. If you do a shitty presentation, you got to do a lot of closing. So I've always thought just be the iPhone marketing and make everybody want the stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but I did learn from Tim, you know, just go out there and talk to a bunch of people and the averages. Like I learned so much from Tim. I got introduced to Jim Rohn from Tim, but like he was a year younger than me. And like in school, I wasn't super popular, but I think I was more popular than him. And Tim would say this about himself. Like he was just a goofball, you know, and now he's a legend, you know? But so like my first real mentor was definitely Dennis Wong, and Sophia on the operations side, Dennis on the marketing side. But Tim was very influential. I mean, it changed my life by bringing me into, and he was my, like, I couldn't say mentor, but like, I learned all the basics from Tim for the first year and a half. So, I mean, he's the vampire that bit me, and I'll always give him credit for that. And dude, is he not the most consistent guy you ever met in your life? I mean, he has not changed. I mean, he's developed, but he hasn't changed at all. Like he is the exact same. He is the most consistent person I know. And I told him that last week, you know, but Dennis was my first mentor, like first guy I worshiped, and I wanted to be him.
Yeah. Dennis was awesome. And it's interesting. I hear some crazy ass stories of Dennis, right? And so I heard from somebody, I won't mention who, but I heard from somebody at one time Dennis had a meeting at his house. And for those people that don't know, Dennis, I won't mention his last name. He's owner of a current network marketing company, super sharp guy, one of the best. But I heard that he had a leadership meeting in his house one day, and he told the people in that meeting, we should start a religion. Do you recall that at all? Were you in that meeting?
Oh yeah, I was in every meeting. Yeah, I remember it. Dennis, it was so funny because he used to wear a suit and tie and dress like Richard Gere every day. Like that was the success image in the 90s, right? Yeah. Then he started making a whole bunch of money, and we got away from telecom and got into the internet. And then he was just super big, bright, like a blouse, like Versace shirts, and all his gold and diamonds and everything. He was like a little cult leader, you know. But God, he was influential. I mean, he had everybody sitting on the edge of their seat.
Yep. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, like I am God. I mean, he definitely like no shortage of confidence with that guy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I know. Anyway, interesting stuff. I was brand new to the industry when I got introduced to Dennis, and I went to a couple of his meetings. And I love what you just said right now, though, about a presentation. If you do a good enough presentation, right? Let's say it's this much to the close. You do a good enough presentation. I remember hearing this from you years ago. I forgot it. That's why I tell people you have to learn, unlearn, and relearn, right? So you have to learn some new stuff. You have to unlearn some of your bad habits, right? And some of the things that you've been taught. And you also have to relearn. That's why training is so important, and repetition, right? Because this is a perfect example. You just mentioned something that I heard you train on this. It was either you or Tim. I think it was you, where you said, if the presentation is good enough, the close is easy, right? The close is small. But if the presentation is not good enough, then it takes you a lot longer. You have to spend more time on the close. That's so incredibly true.
I just feel so bad for like the newest person when the presentation sucks and they turn to their friend and they're like, I'll pay for you.
Yeah, exactly. I've certainly done that a few times back in the days, long time ago. Now I've even told people, hey, listen, man, you got to pay me to join my team. I had a guy ask me a bunch of dumb questions and question after question. I said, look, listen, brother, at this point, I don't want to sign you up, man. You know what I mean? I don't
Right.
think this business. And the guy's like, no, but I am interested. I said, honestly, now you got to convince me as to why I should sign you up. Because honestly, you know, all these questions that you're asking, they're not questions of somebody that I want to align myself with. So at this point, you have to sell me on why I should sign you up. Long story short, the guy signed up. You know, the posture, obviously things change over time. Your confidence grows. Not only that, when you have belief in yourself, in your business, in your company, it's a different dynamic. But 20 years ago, I used to tell people, I'll pay for you to get started, you know?
Oh, 100%. I've been every guy in the industry, you know, the scared guy, the medium guy, the confident guy, the overconfident, cocky guy, then humbled guy. Like you go through so many different versions of you, you know, it's, you know, I'm sure you've heard this before, but network marketing truly is hyper life. Every 1 year in network marketing is like 5 years in the real world because it's all relationships and team building. And do you have the power of enrollment to enroll people into your vision, which is so applicable when it comes to dating or a job interview or just life in general. So like all life is the power of enrollment. When someone says I'm not good at sales, I'm like, well, shit, you're not good at life then. You got to sell your kid on brushing their teeth. You got to sell your wife on not cheating on you. You got to sell, like life is sales, period. So when someone's like, I suck at sales, I'm like, man, that's a huge handicap to go through your whole life with. You should probably develop a little bit of that at least.
Damn. That right there was a nugget. That right there is a Instagram reel right there. What you just said right now is so true, so simple, so true. And people, it's sometimes because it's so simple, people overlook it, you know? And let me ask you this before we switch it. I want to get into the crypto conversation, but why do you think it is that some people hit it big, right? They go, and you and I know some people like that. They hit it big, they did great, and they could never duplicate it again, right? You've gone and you've hit it out the park a bunch of times, sometimes more than others, like all of us, but nevertheless, you've been consistent, right? And so why do you think that some people just, you know, one hit wonders?
I mean, there's like multiple reasons. It's obviously effort, skill, and luck and timing. It's all of those and a different mixture. So it's hard to say. I always find it funny when people deal in absolutes. They go, oh, it's because of this. I'm like, well, maybe for that guy at that time, like it's, you know, it's never black and white. So with some people, they don't want to put the work in again. They know how much work it takes and they're over that. With other people, they never developed the skill. And in that other company, they had a partner that filled that gap and now they don't have that partner. So, I mean, the short answer is there's a whole bunch of different reasons, as you and I both know, right? It's not always the same reason for everybody. But yeah, it is sad. I guess it's the same in life in general, whether it's music or network marketing or whatever. There's a bunch of people that are one hit wonders, and either they didn't have enough talent for another album, or they didn't have the work ethic, or they lost a partner, or I mean, it's a host of reasons.
Yep, that's true. That's true. One of the big ones I've seen is they're not willing to do the work, right? And yes,
That's
sometimes
big,
it has, yeah, that's a big one, right? But for sure, it also has a lot to do with timing. Sometimes you're just at the right company, the right industry, the right product, and you know that just with the right leadership and systems, and they just caught, you know,
yeah,
caught the wave. But a lot of
yeah.
times, you
You're a
know,
part of industry,
indirect,
and then you go off and do it on your own. You might not be the next Justin Timberlake, or you might be. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Switching gears to cryptocurrency, bro. You and I have been in cryptocurrency for a long time. Tell me about your cryptocurrency experience, when you got started, where you see it going, and we're going to get into a couple things like that.
So I heard about crypto, like I'm so bad with time. I want to say 11 years ago. I didn't like right at the beginning, like
Wow.
Joby Weeks in a hotel room in Las Vegas, and he sent me my first Bitcoin. I think a whole Bitcoin. Like it was not. It
Wow.
was so cheap at that time, but I didn't get involved because in that meeting there was a guy. I don't want to name names. There's two other guys in that meeting, and one of the guys just like, "Can I cuss on here?"
Yes.
But one of the guys just shit all over that idea and the whole and just destroyed the meeting. And so like I walked away thinking, man, that guy Joby was super cool and Bitcoin sounds super cool, but I just like didn't do it. He just killed the energy for all of us. So like a couple of years goes by, and then I'm in Matt Morrow's kitchen, and his son EJ is like, dude, you should buy a Bitcoin. And I was like, wait, I heard about that from this guy a couple of years ago. And so I bought my first Bitcoin in Matt's kitchen for $200. And then it started to go up. And so I bought another one. And then like Jason and Travis and a whole bunch of my friends and Brian, you know, all these guys, they all got super into mining. but like I didn't have the money to buy a whole bunch of mining equipment. They were buying like terahashes and like just, freaking ridiculous amounts. Like, and I was like, I can't even afford one machine. I'd made a bunch of money, but I'd spent most of it. So I started selling mining. So I bought some Bitcoin. Then I started selling machines that were mining Ethereum so I could make the money to buy my own machines. And then I got up to like 50 grand a month, and then 80 grand a month, and then 100 grand a month. And it was like just making all this money without doing meetings and trainings was so like intoxicating and just so refreshing. Like I love doing meetings and trainings, but like they asked Justin Timberlake once, what do you want to do next? And he said, anything but music. He's just like movies, anything. Like, sometimes you do something for long enough. It's not like the industry screwed me or anything like that. I was just kind of like excited about climbing a new mountain. If I had enough lifetimes, I want to be a doctor. I want to do everything,
Yeah.
So I went from buying Bitcoin to selling machines to buying machines to then doing trading. But yeah, I got up to like 100 grand a month and just fell in love with it. And then I was having a hard time liquidating crypto fast enough through Coinbase. They charge you 4%. They take forever. And, you want to sell like $1 million of Bitcoin, it takes like a month. You sell one Bitcoin, it takes a week, to get the cash. So I ended up meeting the owner of a private bank in London, who's one of the top people in the world at helping people legally, quickly liquidate crypto. And so I've been working with him now for 5 years or something. But that's the short version of how I got in all the way up to today.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, I know about that relationship that you have, and I want to talk to you off the air on that, because that's very interesting. And I got involved in crypto a long time ago as well, and made a lot of money. I didn't keep as much of it as I would like to have. I think that's the case with all of us, right? What do you think of the crypto market right now? Obviously, it's down. I'm holding. I'm not concerned about it. What are some of the cryptocurrencies? What do you think of the market? In the next 3-4 years, and also what are some of the cryptocurrencies that you're the most excited about right now?
Well, it's interesting how our careers have been so parallel, because you and I both did well in network marketing, both did great at public speaking, both got into crypto. Like we've had very similar careers. So what I think about Bitcoin is kind of like where downloading music was before iTunes. You could do it, but it wasn't like mainstream. You could download music with LimeWire or Napster or Kazaa, but you had to be like a music freak or a geek. And so Bitcoin is kind of in that same place. There hasn't yet been a platform to come around and make it easy enough to use to where a soccer mom can use it. And so that's what's been holding Bitcoin back from mass adoption. That and just time. If you look at when email was invented and when it took off, there's huge gaps. So people are like, oh, if Bitcoin was going to take off, it would have taken off. I mean, that's totally not true. That wasn't true for the internet. Remember when the internet came out, everyone's like, oh my God, no, they're going to steal your credit card number. Or you would try to download a picture and you had to go get a sandwich and come back and it's still freaking loading. Like it takes time for technology to develop and for people to trust it. And so Bitcoin is the same way. Until it gets easier to use, it's not going to hit critical mass adoption. And, Club Swan, and crypto space and footswap.io, and there's a handful of exchanges that I work with, mainly Club Swan, are really working hard at making Bitcoin easier to use. That's what's holding it back. It's brilliant. It's the most amazing invention like since the internet. It's just a little too hard for the average person to use right now. So
I get it. So obviously Bitcoin, you're big on Bitcoin. I am as well, but what are some other cryptocurrencies that you're big on?
I mean, for me, like I really like Ethereum because it's like, why bet on a horse when you could bet on the track? You've got 80% of the altcoins riding the Ethereum blockchain. So just bet on Ethereum. You got 80% chance of winning. So like I'm number 1 Bitcoin, number 2 Ethereum. After that, there's some Hail Mary passes that are fun. My philosophy is be like 50% Bitcoin, maybe 20% altcoins or 30% altcoins. And then why not some Hail Mary passes? Crap, I missed out on Dogecoin. I missed out on Shiba, all the stupid meme coins. So I think it's fun to have a few of those just for fun. So like, I like PPM, Punk Panda is a good one. I don't know. I'm not the best in the world at picking coins, to be honest. Like I'm not a trader. I'm pretty good at telling people what I'm good at and what I'm not. I work with exchanges. And so I'm not the guy eating Hot Pockets, drinking Red Bull, staying up till 3 a.m, watching the charts. Like, dude, I don't even know what a candlestick is. I don't know any of that. I don't know. Yeah, people ask me all the time, which coin should I buy? I'm like, dude, if I knew that, I'd be a billionaire.
Exactly. I agree. Listen, I think Ethereum is a safe bet. Bitcoin will be for a long time. you often talk
Yeah,
about, for
what do you
example,
think? What coins are you holding right now?
I've definitely Ethereum. I'm big on it. I just bought some Ethereum last week. I'm always stacking, right? I hold a ton of Bitcoin, not a ton, but a good amount of Bitcoin. I like XRP. I think XRP, if it wins that lawsuit, I think it's got some good potential. So I hold a good amount of that. Gala and a couple of other ones. But I'm always also paying attention to people that are smarter than me, right? And
Right.
but definitely I see cryptocurrency, going. So where do you see cryptocurrency going? Where do you see it? Do you see it replacing the dollar? If so, give me a little bit more insight on how you see that.
Okay, wait, I want to answer that question, but I just thought of something. You know how steel sharpens steel. You said something, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like, here's what I can tell you. I can't tell you what coin to pick, and not you. I mean, the audience. Like,
Mhm.
what coin to pick. So like, you've got Bitcoin, BTC. You've got Ripple, XRP. So you've got it's like the company and the stock ticker, just to help people that don't know anything about crypto understand this world, right? So you've got the company, then you've got the ticker. People get confused and they're like, what's what? Just think of it like stocks. It's the company and the ticker, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you know which coin to invest in? Number one, I just look at what people smarter than me are doing, like you said. That's my number one rule. Okay.
Yeah.
But then second, if I had to do it on my own, what you want to look at is the validity of the project behind the coin, because there's a whole bunch of pump and dumps. So you look at the coin, and then you look at the company, and then you look at what's the project of the company. And then if you really want to geek out, then you look at who are the developers on the project. And so that's the test, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you pick a coin, because there's a lot of coins out there that don't have a real project behind them. So like I like Chainlink because there's a good project behind Chainlink. I like there are certain coins I like because I like the project. I mean, I could go into Suku and Ample. I mean, I do know a little bit about the coins, but okay, so that's that. And then wait, what was the next question?
Do you see how soon do you see crypto replacing the fiat currency?
Okay, so like I don't think Bitcoin will ever replace cash 100% because you need cash to grow economies. That's a whole nother conversation. And I don't love cash because I don't love the Federal Reserve, and that's a whole nother conversation. But like, what do you think is going to happen and what do you want to happen are all separate questions, right? Sometimes people get it confused. So like, just look at it like Airbnb didn't replace hotels, but nobody would say Airbnb failed. Like Uber didn't replace taxi, but like, who doesn't want to own Uber? So I think Bitcoin will be like that. If Bitcoin could become 30% of our transactions, holy cow. I mean, right now, I haven't paid attention. Maybe it's 2%. I remember when it was a 0.5%. Maybe it's 3%. Somebody now is going to Google it. I'll tell you what it is. Okay. But if Bitcoin could get to be 30% or so, I don't think it'll replace cash, but I don't think it has to. I think it just needs to be an option, because we need to have an option of being able to peer-to-peer money to each other without a bank in the middle. There needs to be that option in life. It doesn't have to be everything, but we need the option for a whole bunch of reasons we don't have time for.
Sure. Now, I agree with you on but Bitcoin is too slow though, in my opinion, to go to 30%. I think cryptocurrency, what Bitcoin started, will be right. So I'm trying to figure out, right, what do we think that's going to be, right? It might be, something else. I think Bitcoin's always going to be around, but it's too slow to replace that much, but it definitely will be cryptocurrency. But then it leads me to another question.
Okay. But wait, I have
governments.
I have three answers. Okay, so one, it's so hard to answer that question because Bitcoin's open source and it's always changing, right? So it's like now you've got the Lightning Network. It's true, compared to the amount of transactions Visa can do versus Bitcoin, Bitcoin is slow compared to Litecoin, or so many other coins are faster than Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is always changing and evolving. So right now, is it the best coin? No, it's not. But could it be? So it's so hard to answer that question because it's like the industry is like an ocean, not a lake. It's always changing. So I agree, Bitcoin is slow. And then Ethereum, you got the gas fees, but we didn't have that before. So it's always changing, right? So it's so hard to predict that. Okay, and then what was the next thing?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yes. Do you think? But here's the thing, though: the governments, it's not in their best interest to have a cryptocurrency that's decentralized. So they're already talking about a digital dollar. Matter of fact, Biden just talked about a digital dollar. I think we're 10 years away or less before having a digital dollar. I'm of the belief that it's going to be probably the Americas. right? That is going to offer, there was a plan a long time ago to come up with the Amero, right? That was going to replace the dollar, the peso, the Canadian dollar and whatnot. So they're already talking about a digital currency. The scary thing about that is going to be programmable, right? Currency that like, oh, you can't buy too much of this. So it's just, it's a weird world that we're living in, and we're seeing things speed up very, very fast. So what are some of your thoughts on that? This is kind of like a red pill conversation.
Yeah, this is great. You can go so deep down the rabbit hole. Like the first thing is you watch Banking on Bitcoin and you're like, oh, that's great. And you start to understand Bitcoin. Then you watch like Bitcoin, the phenomena. And then like, I'm like 200 documentaries in, and you start to get so deep down the rabbit hole and you realize there are no wallets. There's just inputs and outputs. And like, you can get so deep. Yeah. And for the average person, they just don't need to have the understanding that you and I have of crypto, right? So when people ask me, I try to give them the answer, the real answer that they're looking for, not necessarily the question that they're asking, So yeah, programmable money is a shame. And it's so hard to say what will happen and what won't. So let me back up. So Bitcoin can't be stopped like Napster was, because it's not on one server. It's hosted, as it's hosted on, hundreds of thousands or some number of computers. So it really cannot ever be stopped. So people are always like, oh, the government's going to stop Bitcoin. Impossible, unless you shut off the internet. That's the only way. So nobody's stopping Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin could fail. That's a possibility, but I highly doubt it. I think more likely than anything is that the government is just going to put a lot of regulations on crypto. They just want their pound of flesh. That's all they want. The Federal Reserve is their piggy bank. They print money, they loan it to the government, charge them interest, and we all pay for it in inflation. That's how it works. And they've got that system working so well. It's like, out of $100, they can make $900 because they loan it out, and then that person puts it in the bank and they loan it. And, they've got this whole system working for them. If you haven't watched, and you probably have, but for the people, The Creature from Jekyll Island, you've got to watch that. It explains everything. But yeah, I think the government will have to come out with their own cryptocurrency, just because crypto is going to be so popular. They're going to have something to compete because they can't stop it.
Absolutely. Very interesting conversation, man. So let me ask you this, brother. What are some of the top personal development books, that you would recommend to people, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, network marketers,
So like, there's always new books coming out, and of course you should keep up. But like, if you ask all the top writers in the world, what are the top 5 books? Every one of them, atheist or not, says the Bible. It's a compilation of 64 books. Behold and beware. Behold, do what this guy did. Beware, don't do what this guy did. Yeah. And so like, my analogy to that would be like Jim Rohn. There's all these great people out there now, but like, honestly, you can get everything you need from Jim Rohn. So like, I listened to Jim Rohn, and then Tony Robbins, and then Stephen Covey, and then Brian Tracy, and then Les Brown, and then you start getting off into like more abstract stuff. But like, I learned a little bit from all this, but the main stuff I really got from Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. So like, you don't need 360 roundhouse kicks to win a fight, as you know, right? Yep. Wouldn't want to fight you, videos. It's like, you're going to win with punches and kicks with the basic shit. The triple roundhouse kick is fun, and maybe you get more points in the karate championship. But like, in real life, just basic stuff is what's going to win. So I would honestly just, anything from Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins, shit, I made millions off just those 2. And then did I get into other stuff? Yeah, of course. But like, you don't have to go crazy with personal development and listen to like 30 different people. You just master 3 or 4, and you'll be good.
I love it. I agree with that. Fundamentals, right? Cliff, how can people connect with you, brother? How can people find you?
Pigeons. No, I'm totally accessible. Instagram, probably number 1. Facebook, if you're over 30, Facebook. If you're under 30, Instagram. That's the easiest 2 ways to get a hold of me. I have a website, cliffbraun.com, but I haven't updated it in so long. I've been like, everyone's like, what's your next big hairy goal? I'm like, more of the same. I mean, like, dude, I've been living the dream for like 5 years. Like, life couldn't get any better. I mean, I'm so happy I can eat a banana sideways. I'm just like life is just so freaking good. I don't have any big hairy goals. My goals, like, believe it or not, are not personal anymore. It's more like, I want to help crypto get mass adoption. I want to help people have more self-esteem, more confidence. If I could give one gift to the world, it would just be more self-esteem, from kids up to political leaders. That's what we're lacking in this world. and less greed. You know, corporate greed is a huge problem. But anyway, I'm like going off in a tangent. Facebook and Instagram is the easiest
love
way
it.
to get a
Just
hold of
search
me.
Cliff Braun on Facebook and Instagram. Easy.
Yeah.
My friend, I appreciate you very, very much for coming on the podcast. I know you're super busy. I know you got other meetings to jump on, so I don't want to hold you up that long. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast. And for the rest of you guys, make sure that you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow Cliff Braun. This guy's an absolute gem, an incredible human being. And with that being said, I'll see you guys at the top and from the top. Take care.